Well, what I do to impact the youth in terms of nonviolence and just making sure that they make healthy choices is the first thing is that I live by example. I mean, many of us can certainly identify with the times that we were younger and the times when, we didn't necessarily know what choices were the right choices to make. So I position myself as a guidance individual, but I also live that kind of life so that people can see that, yes, you may make mistakes, but you can always recover from those mistakes and choose to stay upon the right path. In terms of violent situations, there's always conflict that needs to be resolved, especially among youth. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and she has friends, and so there's always, in their upbringing and in their coming up, conflict. And my message when it comes to that is make sure that you're true to yourself. The bottom line is that communication is the most important key in order to be successful, in order to have healthy relationships with people. If you break down and you stop talking to people and begin making assumptions, that becomes dangerous. And so the key is to just really try to express yourself verbally, but also find other ways to express yourself so that people don't miscommunicate or misinterpret what you mean. I write poetry to communicate some things that I might not otherwise have been able to do. I believe that I really have a very diverse group of people that I influence, and which means that my mechanisms to be able to really discuss certain things had to change in order to really be able for people to be able to really hear me and identify with what I was talking about. I've been writing as a hobby since I was very, very young, probably the 2nd grade I started. But it really developed when I was in the 5th grade, and it just carried on from there. And by the time I got here, it translated into poetry. Well, I founded a group called Intellectual Divas, and what we do is we perform poetry in Detroit, around Detroit, among youth, really talking about the necessary things that are needed in order to have a harmonious community and a harmonious life's experience. That's spirituality, a positive spiritual life. That's a healthy living. That's, putting the right kinds of things into your body with your diet, with your exercise, not being, poisonous to yourself, abusing substances, smoking cigarettes. All those things become harmful to the individual. Expressing yourself creatively, I think that's very important. Many of us have that. It might not be through writing, it may be through technology, it may be through some type of a spiritual outlet like yoga, but just making sure that you have that other outlet to be able to really reach your spiritual potential. And finally, education. That's the key. It's important, and you got to get there some kind of way. In the words of my poetry, it goes like this. Break down doors to represent yours, pour excitement into it. Let it be known when truth be told, roses grow, get laid and paid, and they fade out someday, inevitably. Why not speak out respectively? Ain't we all muses for our own imaginations, living our days and minutes by seconds, making memoirs for the moments in the amount of 5 by infinity to account for the giving and getting? Literary ingenious, exactly, syntactically mastered thesis is the reasons we say please when we be asking for the pleasure. Poetry plays with our 2 sets of psyche, igniting in us an energy to be offered instead of hypocrisy. We don't live with the wasted opinions of vain men and women who have never had a plan, can't stand for what they believe in because they have no firm foundation. My mama told me it was going to happen eventually, so laughing it off would not make it undone. And I could forget about the fun when it came to gaining upon my competition because, see, my cerebral abilities would be so that my enemies could watch me while I'm sleeping. And the greedy can proceed to being starving and deceased.